Okay, Caroline Dries, we need to have a talk. Because as much as I do get a sick satisfaction from explaining to all the people watching at home how this show is the biggest insult to television, writing, and entertainment in general since the last show that had Greg Berlanti's name attached to it, we can't keep doing this. My head's killing me, I got Superman and Lois to think about now, I'm already late with that video, and I am in no mood to deal with your shit. So no beating around the bush this time, let's just get this one over with fast, because I haven't even started yet and I'm already pissed off. Hit the intro. This episode begins with someone ziplining to a clock tower in the middle of the night. Then we go to Jacob meeting with some shady guy in an alley somewhere who has information on the Napier painting. A private club called The Collective has it, many members of which are clients of the Crows, which is going to be a problem if Jacob wants to just waltz in there and take it. Suddenly, the shady guy is stabbed through the chest from behind and killed by someone. I don't think we ever got a name, but two crows immediately advance on this person. Strange if they were that close they couldn't stop him from killing the shady guy, even stranger that Jacob didn't see the dude coming, but they couldn't, and he didn't, because the crows just suck. So he kills them too, and then Batwoman gets a grapple on him, and he shoots up into the darkness. Batwoman drops down, and things between her and Jacob are pretty frosty considering she saved his life and they fought the False Face Society together in the last episode. I assume that's already been retconned. Jacob says this killer's weapon fits the MO of Sophia's assassins, so he must be working for her, and that means that she doesn't want him to find the painting. How Sophia could possibly know Jacob was even looking for the painting, I couldn't tell you. He wants Batwoman to hand that guy over, but she's like, no dice. I've got a better chance of finding Kate Kane than you do. And then she f***s off, pointing out some graffiti on the side of a building. ACAB. This show. Only in this case it stands for All Crows Are Bastards. Considering two of Jacob's employees were just murdered right in front of him and he didn't even blink or check to see if they're still alive, this I'm inclined to agree with. So Rachel Maddow talks about how there was another sighting of Batwoman working with Jacob Kane, and this grosses out Angelique, who thought Batwoman was cool. Well, that makes one of you. Her and Ryan are back together. Yay, I guess. And Angelique gives Ryan an apology gift for the whole spending 18 months in jail for her thing. Friendship bracelets? Yeah, that'll make up for it. Then Angelique notices the gruesome kryptonite bullet wound on Ryan's shoulder. They'd just spent the night together and she didn't notice it until now? What kind of G-rated family-friendly sex were they having? Then Angelique says what I've been saying for fucking weeks now. Maybe you should get this looked at, dumbass. Ryan doesn't want to, because the writers won't stop until every viewer they have left wants to punch this character in the face. But Angelique says that Ryan always takes care of everyone else, so she should take care of herself for once. And even though the writers have been sitting on Ryan keeping this a secret from Mary and Luke for 4 episodes like it was a pretty big deal, apparently it wasn't, because we then cut to the illegal underground abortion clinic where Ryan has already come clean to Mary about the wound off screen. If you think that was a lot of buildup for fucking nothing, that's only because it was. They're treating it with antibiotics. And if you're wondering why Mary doesn't just give Ryan her magical Deus Ex Machina healing blood, that mysteriously never comes up. I guess because if Mary did that, the plot would be resolved, and then the writers would have to come up with a new one. Instead, Mary gives Ryan some painkillers Kate would often take that would always have her up and at him in no time, which is bullshit, we never saw Kate taking anything like that, and advises Ryan to sit out for a few days. Ryan refuses because Kate never sat out, and she doesn't want Mary telling Luke about this because he's been comparing her to Kate and questioning every decision she makes. Is that something else that's been happening off screen? I thought they already addressed this. Remember how Luke apologized for giving Ryan a hard time? And things between them have been okay since then, but now suddenly they're not? Damn it, writers, could you please hold off on this? I kinda destroyed the plot says so bit in the last video. I have to wait at least a minute or two before I bring it back. Cut to the Batcave, where Ryan is holding the killer she captured hostage and starving him until he gives up the information she wants. And even though this is pretty much exactly like something Kate did once, Luke, being the asshole that he is questioning this decision. Oh, come on, Luke. The guy isn't even septic or close to death this time. Pfft, lighten up, man. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Luke does get to be slightly useful, though. He found out that the killer was not after Jacob, but was stalking the guy he killed in the alley. So him killing those two crows was just a bonus, I guess. Back at Crow's HQ, Jacob has found them a new lead on the painting. An old friend of Kate's, Evan Blake, who is a fixture on the Gotham art scene. Oh yeah, exactly the kind of person Kate would have hung out with, that totally tracks. And this guy was caught with plundered artifacts a while ago, so he might be a member of the collective. As I understand it, in the comics, Evan Blake is a straight playboy type and a villain. So naturally, this version of the character wears a skirt. Before they get to actual important things, Evan has to tell a story about how Kate saved his life. I'll give you one guess how. Back in 8th grade, he had a massive crush on Kate and asked her to the dance. And even though the paragon of amazingness was miles out of his league, she was saintly enough to grace him with the honor of her company for one evening. And when he picked her up, she looked so jaw-droppingly fantastic that he burst into tears, immediately came out as gay, went to the dance wearing Kate's clothes, at which time she ditched him to go make out with some chick, and then he spent the next several years battling Mary for Kate's attention. My God, I wish I was making this up. So he was a gay guy who had a crush on Kate? Sure, Kate's always looked more like a 12-year-old boy than a woman, but still, that's f***ed up. The Kate worship on display here is inflating to nuclear levels of absurdity, to the point where her amazingness now transcends the entire sexuality spectrum. Put a bullet in my head. The only part of that story I actually do believe is the part where she ditched her date at the prom like a total asshole. That sounds like something Kate would do. F*** out of here with the rest of that shit. So they mention the collective. Evan immediately gets defensive, threatens them with his lawyers, and storms out. Beats me what he thinks a lawyer's gonna do, though. Lawyer implies that the law is still a thing in this town, which, as far as I can tell, it isn't. Jacob wants him tailed. Sophie suggests they bring Batwoman in on this, but Jacob refuses to grovel at Batwoman's feet. Even if she could help them find Kate, he doesn't seem to care. So Sophie tells him to let her do it instead, and he just gives in, because he's a man, and that's what men do on this show. We cut to Alice outside the motel where Ocean is supposed to be staying. She gets a flashback to meeting him again, and she's now sure that she's met this dude, even though she's sure they've never met. And that's really confusing to her, so she decides to go get shit-faced instead of doing the one thing that would supposedly get her sister back. Can't say I blame her. Faced with the possibility of Kate returning, I'd want to drown myself in alcohol too. So she goes to a bar, and despite her being the most infamous killer in Gotham, not a single person recognizes her. Of course. Some sleazy guy tries to flirt with her, a white guy naturally, and she scares him away. And turns out Ocean is there, and he's impressed with how quickly she scared this guy off, so they get to talking. Cut to Sophie, who's turned on the bat signal. How the hell do the Crows keep getting private access to that thing? It's on the roof of police headquarters, for God's sake. You'd think there'd be at least one cop who'd want to be present for this. What's Commissioner Gordon up to these days? Is he still around? Did Bruce murder him too before he f***ed off? What's going on here? Batwoman shows up, and Sophie says that she doesn't know where Batwoman got the idea that all crows are bastards. Gee, I don't know, Sophie. Maybe it's because of all that horrible shit the Crows have been doing for the last 25 episodes. Like murder, attempted murder, putting shoot-to-kill orders on people, violently shaking down prisoners. There was that time they turned Gotham into a half-assed police state. I could go on. And Sophie participated in a lot of those things, lest we forget. She really doesn't have a leg to stand on here. Some of us are trying to make a difference, my asshole. Anywho, Sophie wants to make a deal. The Crows will give Batwoman all the info they have on Sophia, and Batwoman will give them access to the prisoner, who knows where Kate's being kept, Sophie says. You don't know that, Sophie. You couldn't possibly know that. you. But that doesn't work for Ryan, who thinks the crows will just beat this man within an inch of his life. Hey Ryan, remind me what the hell you do every week? And what you're doing to that guy right now? Both of you. Sophie says Kate's the love of her life, and she needs Batwoman's help to get her back. The love of your life, huh? It doesn't show, Sophie. It really doesn't. You've seemed perfectly fine since she's been gone. You haven't cried or done a single goddamn thing to show that you miss this person whatsoever. Freaking Alice has been more upset about Kate being gone, and Alice only wants Kate back so she can kill her. Writers, if you're so dead set on persisting with this Kate-Sophie nonsense, maybe have the actress, I don't know, try? I know that's a foreign concept to you people, but it couldn't hurt. Also, the zipline guy was eavesdropping on their conversation. Who cares? Cut to Bruce's office. Ryan hates this idea. She doesn't trust the crows or Sophie, thinks if they make a deal, the crows will just break it, and there's absolutely nothing in the show to suggest that she's wrong about that. But even though the last time Batwoman made a deal with the crows, they broke the deal and tried to kill her, Luke and Mary think this idea is awesome. So Luke and Ryan swap victim stories about the crows, and weirdly enough, even though Luke has a much better reason to hate the crows, they killed his father, he's the one who wants to trust them, whereas Ryan hates the idea of trusting them even though her reasons are a bunch of bullshit. Her story is that she took Angelique's stash to help her get clean, then the crows caught Ryan with the stash and arrested her. So Ryan was in possession of drugs, and she hates the crows because they busted her for being in possession of drugs. And we're supposed to sympathize with this. Oh, and also, they told Ryan to smile. Because they're men and that's what men do. Well, now it all makes perfect sense, doesn't it? For f***'s sake, people! Yeah, Ryan's serving 18 months for a possession charge is bullshit, but Jesus Christ, with ass-backwards logic like this, Superman and Lois could have Clark taken it from behind by a kryptonite dildo, and it would still clear the bar set by these idiots. Also, didn't Ryan previously say that she was framed for a crime she didn't commit? If you were in possession of drugs and got busted for possession, then guess what, Ryan? That's not a frame-up. That's you committing a crime and law enforcement doing their jobs. If you only took the drugs to help your girlfriend get clean, okay. But nobody told you to hold on to the drugs afterward. You could have thrown them away first thing, flushed them down the toilet, whatever. But you didn't. You got caught with them, and you chose not to tell the crows what really happened. This is mostly on you, sweetie. Get over it. So Luke convinces Ryan to make the deal, and you can probably guess what happens next. Batwoman takes the prisoner to meet Sophie and Jacob, and Sophie proceeds to question this man while Jacob works him over, and Ryan just stands by allowing this. Remember that for later. The guy doesn't talk much, but he does let it slip that the painting is a map to Sophia's island, Coriana, and then he eats a cyanide capsule out of embarrassment. So their lead is dead, but it doesn't matter because they immediately magic up another one. They've been surveilling Evan, and they just got a hit on the painting's location. It's being auctioned off, so they'll need someone not connected to the crows to infiltrate the auction and grab the painting without getting caught. And Ryan's willing to do this, but she wants no crows at the location, no surveillance, and she wants Sophie directly in charge of any crows on the mission. Even though just one scene prior she singled out Sophie as the crow she trusted the least. And then when they do the mission, there are crows at the location and Ryan is under constant surveillance. Did they even have a script for this episode? Or did they just cut and paste some random Tumblr fanfics and shoot those? There's no shame in admitting it, writers. Frankly, it's more effort than I expect out of you at this point. Back at the bar, Alice and Ocean are hitting it off, until she asks him where he's from, and he takes that as his cue to leave. But on his way out, she asks if they've met before. He thinks he'd remember Alice, and she lets him go, but she isn't so sure about that, so she goes to break into his motel room, but he jumps her from behind and knocks her out. She wakes up in his room tied to a chair. He wants her to explain, she does, and then we discover that while all of Sophia's minions called her queen, Ocean called her sister. Not biologically, I guess she was like a sister to him, but they had some kind of falling out. He notes that Alice had plenty of opportunities to kill him easily, but didn't. She didn't because she needed more answers. There's something screwy going on here. They were both on Coriana 5 years ago, so they should remember each other, But they don't. Apparently, Coriana is a really fucking small island. So Alice gives Ocean two options. A, he can kill her, or B, they can just call Sophia and figure out what the deal is. I don't see how either one really gets him anywhere, but he chooses option A. And he starts to strangle Alice, but this triggers a flashback to a conversation with Sophia where he said that this isn't about the flower, but him having the one thing that she can't. And without hearing another word, you can probably guess where this is headed. They don't reveal the whole story this week, but knowing how sophomoric these writers are, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that Alice and Ocean were a thing on Coriana, and this made Sophia jelly because she was secretly in love with Alice, of course. So she wiped their memories of knowing each other somehow, and now wants Ocean dead out of petty revenge because he used to bone the girl Sophia had a crush on. Am I getting warm, Caroline? Anyway, he doesn't know what that's about, so he figures they should call Sophia after all. Meanwhile, Mary helps Ryan get dressed for the auction, going on and on about how her and Evan were always fighting over which one of them deserved the honor of worshipping at the altar of Kate Kane more, and the story gets more nauseating every time I hear it. Then Luke walks in, and is instantly reduced to a dumbstruck, stammering spaz at the sight of Ryan wearing makeup and a dress. And Ryan's not hard on the eyes, I'll give him that, but she's happily playing for the other team, dude. There's no shot. Pick your jaw off the floor and stop embarrassing yourself. Jesus Christ, how old are you? So Luke gives Ryan a batarang, which is supposed to get her into the auction somehow. Evan is the guy at the door, wearing a dress of course, because gay. He thinks the batarang is really awesome, and just takes Ryan at her word that it's not a fake, even though she can't prove that. So he's ready to let her into the auction on that basis alone, but he gets suspicious when Ryan doesn't know what year her fabulous dress debuted. Why? Is that something the writers think all gay people are supposed to know instinctively? Beats the hell out of me. So he almost has security remove Ryan, but as luck would have it, Angelique just happens to be working there, and she vouches for her. So he lets Ryan in, after making sure she knows his preferred pronouns, of course. For the record, my pronouns are eat shit. So Angelique's job in this place is to hand out party favors to all the guests. Party favors being drugs. Obviously Ryan has an issue with that, but Angelique claims to have been clean for 4 months and is just doing this for money, and she doesn't appreciate the judgment from someone who's hawking Batwoman hardware. Oh yeah, this seems like a real healthy relationship. Then Ryan checks in with Sophie, who's running that surveillance Ryan said she didn't want, and Ryan confesses that she's late checking in because she ran into her ex, making sure Sophie knows that her ex is a chick. This after several lines in other scenes where Ryan accused Sophie of flirting with her or whatever, even though she's supposed to hate Sophie and the Crows more than anything. Why are we doing this? Why the hell do we need any of this? Why is this a thing? Well, if I had to guess, since the writers are completely devoid of original ideas, I'd say that they want to start a will they won't they between Ryan and Sophie. You know, because that's what they were doing with Kate. So if they just do the same thing with Ryan, then they don't have to come up with anything new, and it makes their jobs easier, so they don't have to work as hard. How warm am I, Caroline? Give me a ballpark figure. So Ryan finds the painting, she scans it with her bat glasses or whatever, then she gets a paint sample, puts it in her bat compact and scans that, and Luke thinks this was a map to Coriana before the Joker splattered human gore all over it, but they'll need to restore the painting to get the map, so Ryan's going to have to steal it. They'd previously stashed the batsuit in the ladies' can behind the tampon dispenser. Lovely. So Ryan goes to suit up. Meanwhile, Zipline Guy drops in and steals the painting right in front of everybody. This is Wolf Spider, but I'm gonna keep calling him Zipline Guy just to be a dick, because this episode deserves it. So Batwoman and Zipline Guy fight for a minute. It's pretty unimpressive. She kicks him off a ledge, and then he runs out of the place. And it's hilarious the way they shot this, because there are multiple security guards shooting at him, emptying their guns at him, and these guys must be blind as a fucking bat, because they're about 5 feet away from Zipline Guy, and they still can't hit him. Lord knows they don't chase after him, they just stand there missing with every bullet they have and let him escape on foot. Was the painting he stole just not that valuable? Were they secretly glad to be rid of it? What the hell? Ryan tries to chase after him, but her kryptonite wound slows her down, so she calls for assistance. You know, those crows Ryan specifically said she did not want at the location? Yeah, they chased down Zipline Guy. For some reason, they're having trouble catching up to him even though they're in a car and he's on foot. You figure it out. Eventually, the crow riding shotgun can't hit him with a taser, so the driver's like, screw it, and hits him with the car. So now Zipline Guy is down, unconscious, bleeding out all over the pavement, desperately needs medical attention, so naturally, the crows grab the painting, off, and leave him there to die. Then Ryan drives up in the Batmobile, she takes off Zipline Guy's mask, which the crows didn't even think to do, and it's Evan. Wow, so you're telling me that Zipline Guy turned out to be the only character he could have possibly been? What a twist. So naturally, Ryan then takes Evan to the illegal underground abortion clinic instead of a real hospital from where the proper authorities could be summoned to take him into police custody. Surprised? Yeah, me neither. And now that the crow's sudden but inevitable betrayal has happened, Ryan takes another page out of Kate's book, takes a big steaming dump all over Luke, and blames him for everything that just went wrong. I can't keep working for your approval, you're always comparing me to Kate, I partnered with the crows and look what happened, you sided with the guys who killed your dad and you really suck, I'm wearing the bat suit so when I say I have a bad feeling, you two better listen, oh boo-hoo. So the criminal who was a jerk to you got injured. Cry me a fucking river. And maybe I'm forgetting something here, so I have to ask. When, after Luke apologized to Ryan for being hard on her, has he been hard on her or compared her to Kate? Because I don't remember that happening post-apology. Is this another retcon, or is it more crap that happened off-screen this week? Either way, it comes off like bullshit. Back at the motel, Alice tells Ocean about how her and Sophia met. He still doesn't remember her, but she says they should remember each other and thinks Sophia made them forget. Then she sees several people getting out of a car through the window and magically knows that these are not regular people staying at the motel, but actually assassins sent to kill them. So they team up, they get the jump on the assassins, defeat them hilariously easily, and escape in Ocean's car. Batwoman goes to meet Sophie, who has lit up the bat signal again. The crows who nearly killed Zipline Guy have been fired, but Batwoman says that's not good enough, and she will settle for nothing less than Sophie burning the whole thing down. And I certainly don't disagree with that, but surprise, surprise, the writers framed this argument in the least convincing way imaginable. Sophie says that she believes in the mission of the crows, and Ryan indignantly points out that they're an organization that decides what justice is based on who can pay the most money, beats information out of its suspects, and runs people over for stealing a painting. Okay. Ryan. Number one, you seem to decide what justice is based largely on who's black and who's white, which some would argue is worse than what the crows do. Number two, you were standing right there when they were beating information out of a suspect and you didn't seem to have a problem with it then. And number three, so beating suspects for information is despicable, but taking them hostage and starving them for information is fine? Do you know what a hypocrite is, Ryan? Kiss my ass! So Ryan says this partnership is over until Sophie quits the crows, and Sophie's like, well, our forensics team is working on the painting. Do you even want to know where Coriana is? And apparently Ryan doesn't want to know that because she just f***s off at that point without learning anything. Forensics team, huh? So the crows have their own forensics team, their own homicide division, and their own satellites. Is it even worth asking what the hell this organization is supposed to be anymore? Probably not, but nobody's been able to answer that question yet, and damn it, I'm still scratching my head over it. Back at the clinic, Evan wakes up, and there's some really weird dialogue with him and Mary where it almost kind of seems like he's flirting with her, but they've made it abundantly clear that he's extremely gay, so it's technically suggestive, but also kind of cutesy-poo. So they know no one's taking it seriously, but they're doing it anyway to mess with people. you. So they talk about Evan's fabulous zipline guy outfit, because that's always #1 priority for a gay dude, right? His fucking wardrobe. God, it's so patronizing. And he says that he was just trying to steal the painting for Kate. Of course he was. What isn't about Kate on this godforsaken shit show? It's more focused on Kate now than it was when Kate was actually there. But it was all for naught. Mary tells him that the crows got the painting, and it turned out to be a forgery. So the original is still out there, and so is Kate. Not if there's a God, Mary. Back at Kate's apartment, which is now Mary and Ryan's apartment, Ryan winces in pain from her kryptonite wound, so she takes the bandage off, and it's glowing now. And that might have been something she could have avoided if she'd gotten it looked at by a doctor 4 episodes ago like any sane person would have, but she didn't. Because. And now this is a thing. Where's it going? Who knows? Does anyone care? Not really. And the episode ends with Alice and Ocean on the run in his car. And Alice flashes back to the two of them kissing. And if they were a heterosexual couple, you know what that means on this show. Don't get attached, Alice, because Ocean probably ain't gonna be alive much longer. And on a more serious note, that kissing would have taken place not long after Alice escaped from Mouse's dad, following many years of physical and psychological abuse. The writers sexualizing the trauma victim like this makes me really uncomfortable. This feels like something that's not just bad writing, not just in bad taste, but also very irresponsible. And I know all that shit goes hand in hand with the CW, but still, I cringed watching that. I did not like this at all. No more of that, please. So then Ocean tells Alice to look in the back seat for a white tube. She finds it. Kinda looks like there might even be a painting in it, too. And he's like, you ever hear of a guy named Jack Napier? Jesus H. Christ, show, what are you doing? Week by week, they are just piling on more and more Kate worship. Just piling on. And now there's so much of it that it's physically suffocating. The show isn't even about Batwoman anymore. The mission statement of the entire fucking thing is bend the knee to Kate Kane, for she is our new god, whether Ruby Rose comes back or not. And while we're at it, we're gonna crank the gay narrative up to 15. Because that's what season 2 was missing, right? Hi, Jacob. Sure, I'll help you find your daughter who went missing after a horrifying plane crash. But first, let me tell you a story about how I came out of the closet and then wore Kate's clothes to the prom. Because that's super relevant somehow. Fucking spare me. And don't even get me started on Ryan. One thing she actually had going for her as a character was that even though she did have a lot of her own issues, at least she wasn't as bad as Kate was. Well, forget that. As of this episode, she's approaching Kate levels in terms of the crap that comes out of her mouth. She only exists to be a sock puppet ideologue, espousing garbage, woke SJW politics with every stupid, infantile, tone-deaf line. The virtue signaling, the hypocrisy, the anti-cop shit, the fucking retcons to her backstory, oh my god! So she flipped off the crows while she was in possession of illegal drugs, and she's playing the victim because she got arrested. She blames them for arresting her for possession. What the f*** did she think was gonna happen? This is one of those episodes that makes the writers look so completely divorced from reality, so utterly clueless about how real human beings actually behave, that you have to wonder how they even function in normal society. This episode can kiss my ass. God damn it, I'm pissed off now. I wanted to make this review shorter, I really did. But there was just so much shit to get through, the damn thing just got longer and longer while my mood got worse and worse. Now I feel like I want to strangle the next person I see, and I have to review Superman and Lois. Well, I'm certainly in the right frame of mind to do that, aren't I? Thanks for nothing, Batwoman. F*** off. Leave a comment to help me fight off the algorithm, ding the bell for notifications, follow me on social media so you'll always know when I upload new stuff, the link is down there. Like, share, subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed. I'll be back with more soon. Peace out.